Hello YouTube. Bane666 here. While doing a little bit of research on the internet, I came across this domestic violence center on the Gold Coast, Queensland. I noticed they had a page called Men and Domestic Violence, so I decided to check it out, and found this index. The link that stood out to me was, "What about women who use violence?" This video is going to examine what I found there, and counter it with actual fact-based research, not ideological-driven propaganda. It starts with, some say it takes two to tango, and believe that abuse in relationships is caused by both people, but the reality is mutual abuse is not common. A fight involving violence where both people share equal power in the relationship is rare. A pattern of violence that includes control and domination by one of the partners is more common. Whilst the use of violence is never condoned, it is helpful to understand that the violence used by women against their male partners can take several forms. So I guess we should look at some actual facts and figures to see who domestic violence affects. As this is an Australian domestic violence centre, I will be using the Australian 1 in 3 campaign to counter their claims. And in case you do not know what the 1 in 3 campaign is, 1 in 3 is a diverse group of male and female professionals, academics, researchers, social workers, psychologists, counselors and trainers. The campaign aims to raise public awareness of the existence and needs of male victims of family violence and abuse, to work with government and non-government services alike to provide assistance to male victims, and to reduce the incidence and impacts of family violence on Australian men, women and children. They also state that 1 in 3 victims of family violence and abuse, perhaps as many as 1 in 2, is male. We will have a good look at the reasoning behind this statement in this video. As always, links below. There will be a bit of reading in this video, so you might want to make a cup of coffee, and get your pause button ready. I will also be trialing a new counter that will let you know when a screen capture is about to change. Let me know if you think it works. So what you have just read are statistics from across Australia, including information from the Australian Bureau of Statistics Personal Safety Survey 2006, the South Australian Interpersonal Violence and Abuse Survey 1999, the Crime Prevention Survey 2001, the New South Wales Bureau of Crime Statistics and Research 2005, the Queensland Crime and Misconduct Commission 2005, the Australian Institute of Criminology 2013, the Victorian Victims Support Agency 2012, the Australian Institute of Family Studies 1999, University of Melbourne La Trobe University Study 1999, Murray, Strauss 2008, Ferguson and Mullen 1999, The Queensland Government Department of Communities 2009, a study of risk factors for recent domestic physical assault in patients presenting to the Emergency Department of Adelaide Hospitals 2004, the Australian Institute of Family Studies evaluation of the 2006 Family Law Reforms 2009, and a few others. I think it's important to note that they show a consistency across Australia, that males make up at least 1/3 of domestic violence victims, and that females are capable of being abusers. To be fair, the Domestic Violence Prevention Centre also has a citation, one citation, from Scotland, from the year 2000. But we will get to that later. Let's see what excuses the Domestic Violence Prevention Centre gives for violent women. Self-defense is when a woman uses as much force as is reasonably necessary to defend herself against an assault in an effort to protect herself from further violence. Okay, let's see what facts and figures we can find from the 1 in 3 campaign about this. Could the 1 in 3 victims of domestic abuse, in Australia, being male, be a result of women defending themselves against abusive men? Get your pause button ready, and let's find out. So statistics show that females using violence against a domestic partner, in self-defense, is a small minority. I do not doubt that some women, when faced with a violent partner, will use violence to defend themselves, but it should also be noted that this applies to a small minority of men as well, according to the statistics just shown. So I am sorry, Domestic Violence Prevention Centre, but self-defense cannot be used as a gender-specific defense for female domestic violence. Self-defense applies to both genders, but only in a minority of cases. But let's look at the Domestic Violence Prevention Centre's next point in excusing female domestic violence. Resistance to oppression describes a situation when a woman hits back after experiencing a long history of violence and abuse from her partner in the relationship. Although she may use violence in this incident, she is not the most powerful or most dangerous person in the relationship. She may continue to fear for her safety. Once again we get the, but females are only ever violent when they have no other choice, excuse. But let's take a look at some more facts and figures and see if this is a case. Once again, get your pause button ready. So yes, dominance of one partner over another is a risk factor when it comes to domestic violence. But please note I said, one partner over the other, not males dominating females. As females are just as likely to dominate a male partner, as a male is to dominate a female partner. So I am sorry, Domestic Violence Prevention Center, but oppression cannot be used as a gender-specific defense for female domestic violence. Dominance and oppression applies to both genders, but only in a minority of cases. But let's look at the Domestic Violence Prevention Center's next point in excusing female domestic violence. Violence used to control. There is a small percentage of relationships where women use violence as a pattern of abuse, using power and control against their partners. However, statistics compiled from police reports, hospital accident and emergency departments, court data, domestic violence counseling services and surveys suggest these types of relationships are a minority. Research indicates that men experience the impact of domestic violence very differently than women. These studies show that men report they were not living in their homes in an ongoing state of fear of the perpetrator. Men generally did not have prior experiences of violent relationships and men rarely experience post-separation violence. Scottish Crime Survey 2000. Because this type of violence is not common, it can be difficult for men to reach out to seek help. The Domestic Violence Prevention Center provides safety information and referrals for men who are victims of domestic and family violence and have been abused by their partner, son, brother, other family member or same-sex partner. What a load of absolute bullshit. As the statistics I showed at the start clearly state, 1 in 3 to 1 in 2 victims of domestic abuse in Australia are male. 1/3 to 1/2 is not a small percentage of relationships where women use violence as a pattern of abuse. I love the way at the end they add, son, brother, other family member or same-sex partner, in with, partner. It's interesting because looking at the rest of their site, I cannot find any examples of daughter, sister, or female same-sex partner being the abuser. In fact, the exclusive language they use is female equals abused, male equals abuser. I guess female victims of same-sex domestic violence do not count, for some strange reason. But let's take another look at their last statement, or at least, a part of it. Research indicates that men experience the impact of domestic violence very differently than women. These studies show that men report they were not living in their homes in an ongoing state of fear of the perpetrator. Men generally did not have prior experiences of violent relationships and men rarely experience post-separation violence. Is this the case? Once again, get your pause button ready, as we are about to find out. According to this information, males are less likely to admit or show their fear. Is it any wonder the male suicide rate is so high, when we tend to internalize our emotions? Of course, this bullshit from the Domestic Violence Prevention Center only helps to silence male victims. By propagating the myth that male equals abuser, female equals victim, they are excusing the bad behavior of abusive women, always finding some excuse for their actions, while simultaneously victim-blaming their male victims. Their reluctant admittance that some women are abusive is nothing more than lip service. If someone starts with the stereotype that males are abusive and females are victims, then we should not be surprised when they excuse violent women, and ignore victimized men. But the question is, what do we do about it?